Hello and welcome to a very special episode of First Geek 411. I'm your host, Cameron Franklin, and with me, as always, from West Coast, Best Coast, is Emma. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
It's good. For people in the U.S. and apparently Canada, happy Labor Day. I was not
Yay.
aware that that was a thing in Canada. You'd think after like 2 years of doing this podcast with Shanine, I would have like some sort of idea what their holidays were, but I feel like somehow we always slipped through that one, or like we were all somebody on our end was traveling, so it didn't matter
Yeah.
that she had a holiday. But like, yeah, shout out to all those people. Um, this week we are chatting spoiler-free thoughts on Starfield, and then going to be diving into the continued SAG and WGA. There we go.
I
I
go.
I was on AFTRA, like SAG-AFTRA, and
Yeah.
I couldn't get out of that acronym, and
Yeah.
so but I was like, that isn't what I want here, but we're fine. Um, and so we're gonna be chatting about those on top of a couple other like smaller topics and stuff like that. But before we get into it, as always, you can find us on social media as One Geek 411. You can find us in our Discord server where we can chat during the week. You can shoot us an email at 1stgeek411 at gmail.com. Watch live on Twitch Monday nights at 6:45 Mountain Time. Find us on YouTube where you can like, comment, and subscribe, and then check us out on our Redbubble store. Emma, what have you been up
It
to? It's been a while since we've had like a normal episode. Um,
has been.
like we didn't do an episode maybe the past 2 weeks. Oh, we did because we did Jackbox 2 weeks ago.
That's right.
And then we didn't do an episode last week. So it's been a minute. So like, what have you been
It's
up
been
to?
a minute. Semester started the semester. I don't know if that was before, during, or after Jack's box, but it started and got right into it. Like it was the end of my summer was super chill, and the first day of classes started, and I was right into it with all of that crazy hectic things to do. I have recently been doing post credits things in Tears of the Kingdom. Cameron and I were
Nice.
just talking about this before we started. I forced myself to do the Ganon fight so that I would actually like say that I finished the game.
Mm-hmm.
But now I've been running around doing a bunch of the side quests and propping up signposts,
Oh,
and
there's so many signposts to prop up.
there's so many signposts, and I'm at that point where it's like I know there's still some left, but I've done enough of them that I don't know where the rest are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like you reach this sort of plateau of like you stop seeing the guy everywhere, and so when you do see him you have to do it or else you'll forget where he is. um, and I've been also trying to finish Assassin's Creed Valhalla because that's been out for a while and I still haven't finished it yet.
Yeah, that's a behemoth
Mostly
of a game too.
yeah, yeah, mostly because I keep getting distracted by side things. Because that's such a fun game to explore in. But that's been a lot of fun. And then because I'm an adult with adult money, I taught myself Shrinky Dinks. And for people who don't know what Shrinky Dinks are, it's the sheets of plastic that you draw on and then you stick it in the oven and it shrinks all up. This was my first test. It failed a little bit, but it's a crab. Um, it sort of warped around itself. But I bought myself Shrinky Dinks so that I could doodle on paper and then turn it into like ornaments and gifts and things for friends. So I was just like, I want to draw, but I don't know what to draw. So
Yeah.
I'm going to make ornaments for people with Shrinky Dinks
Yep.
because I loved Shrinky Dinks as a kid. So I made a little seashell at one point, and that was a lot of fun. Um, and stars. These were my test rounds. But yeah, that was my like. I have some spare money, so I'm gonna get Shrinky Dinks so I can make arts and crafts. So that's been the last couple of weeks.
Nice. I love that. As someone who's never done Shrinky Dinks, I was hyped when I saw them in your like what you've been up to.
They're so fun.
Like that makes me so excited.
Yeah.
It's kind of in that same vein as like the bead art of
Yeah.
like it's one of those things that was like such a part of like our childhood.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was definitely like I was the bead art kid, not the Shrinky
Yeah.
Dink kid.
Yeah.
But like I love that.
I've always loved Shrinky Dinks, and like we have a couple of Christmas ornaments from when my sister and I were little that are Shrinky Dink things like Christmas trees or whatever. So it's a lot of fun, and like I highly recommend. I mean, it's fun for adults too. Like you can trace over a coloring book page and stick that in the oven or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I always recommend it.
Yes, I love it. I was gonna say when you're talking Tears of the Kingdom sign guy, we went to a local con and there was somebody dressed up as sign guy.
Oh, that's great.
And like it was like carrying around the sign. Like props to you.
That is fabulous.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the cabbages guy
Yes,
from
exactly. Whenever I see people doing cosplay with like some sort of big prop, I'm like, you are either committed or did not think this through.
No.
Like I've done,
And more likely than not, you are a local to
right,
this con.
that too. Yeah.
Because traveling with that would be
a behemoth.
nigh impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. I always think of that because it's just like, I'm the person that like, I've only admittedly done a very few amount of cosplay, very limited amount of cosplay, but like I've been thinking about building Aang's staff for a while, like the glider staff. And it's even that, which is just like, man, I'm gonna just have to carry this around all day. Like that just discourages me from getting into it. Let alone you see people like the Warhammer soldiers or people that are in like Rebel Legion or the 501st. Like they have these crazy props that they have to maneuver around in, and I'm just like, Aang is basically pajamas, and that's enough for me.
Yeah.
Let's see on my end. People may know Deanna and I relatively recently moved. And so this past weekend, we went and cleared out the garage because it was just like a bunch of stuff that had either like been left from the people that we bought the house from or was stuff that like we had moved in but didn't know where to put it. So just kind of got thrown in the garage. And so we went through and like moved the cars out, reorganized everything, and then put stuff back in. Ton more space. Well done us. Like I was surprised at how much space we were able to like clear up, and moved a little bit into the attic, but not that much. And so pretty excited about that. We also had some friends over for a game night where we played Tumble, Happy Little Dinosaurs, and Sagrada. And so I love that. One of the couples apparently has gone and bought Tumble, which makes me super happy because that was a game that I had bought like on sale off of Amazon that I'd never heard of and was just like, it's super cheap, I'll risk it, and has been a lot of fun. And I've played it like over the years now with like tons of different people. It might be like my most played board game.
Oh, it's the tube one with the chopsticks that you stick in? Maybe?
No. So I think that's Tumble.
Ah.
Did I put? I mistyped it in the notes.
There we go.
It's Tumble. It's reverse Jenga. So you have a die that you roll, and then that tells you how you have to position your brick, and then you have to like stack up and build the tower as a group. And if you cause it to fall, you get those bricks, and those are your points. And you're basically doing like golf score.
Fascinating.
And so I like it because it's a very good, like, since it's dexterity, it's a very good like icebreaker game to get everybody like ready for the evening. And then you can also do it with like any number of people, kind of just with the mindset that like, hey, we're just having fun. Like it doesn't, it almost always results in one person loses pretty badly and then everybody else is just kind of vibing. But it's a lot of fun. And so like we played it at my birthday, I think, with a group of like 12 people.
Oh.
And so like it's kind of just, hey, we're going to get around, play this game, and then now we're going to all break out and play different stuff. So definitely recommend it. And then Happy Little Dinosaurs. It's a blast. Fun. You're trying to like outrun the end of the world and survive these disasters. It's by the same people that did Unstable Unicorns. And so, and then Sagrada, awesome dice game, building stained glass using dice. That one's awesome and is always beautiful as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then in other stuff, I started watching Ted Lasso. I don't remember if I mentioned this like 3 weeks ago when we did podcast, but I'm in season 2 now. So it's kind of been like our like eating dinner show. And so
Yeah.
I've really liked it. I've decided I want to be Ted when I grow up. I
Good goal.
love, yeah, I love the like brutal, like not like brutal honesty. But I like his like brutal like positivity.
Yeah.
And but he's also like not dumb, and he's not like being taken advantage of because he's positive. And so I like that like he's aware of things. He's aware of like, I can't push this because it won't work, and kind of like stuff like that. And so yeah, I've decided I want to be Ted when I grow up.
Goal to have.
Yeah. And then in the world of video games, I started playing and platinumed Toem, which is a really fun indie game. It's like a 5-hour platinum. And so if you have PlayStation Plus Extra, definitely recommend
A
it.
delightful game.
Yeah. It's black and white, but it is like, for there being so little color in it, it is still like extremely beautiful. And like,
yeah,
when it started, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about this for the whole game. But I really enjoyed it. And then
peaceful.
Yeah, peaceful is a good example, a good word. It's very chill vibes. It's basically you're going on a hike and you're going through these towns on your way to like climb a mountain. And so
and you're taking pictures.
yeah. I liked the photo mechanic more than I thought I would as well. That was it was very forgiving. I thought that was gonna be something that was gonna be, oh, you have to get the exact right shot or something like that. It kind of has a similar vibe to Concrete Genie. I don't know if you've played that one.
I've started it. I'm like maybe like 3 or 4 hours into that.
Yeah, I felt like it had a similar vibe because in Concrete Genie, it's like you just need to get XYZ up, and that's all you have to do. But like, if you want to make it this really cool work of art, you can.
You can,
but you don't have to. And that's kind of how Toem worked. It's like the thing is in the picture, you're good enough.
Yeah.
And I liked that. Let's see. Other than that, been playing Jedi Survivor finally. I started with New Game Plus, because that carried over all of like the collectibles and stuff Deanna had done. And I gotta tell you, it apparently remixes some of the fights and makes them more difficult. And I'm playing on like the normal, I think it's Jedi Knight is the difficulty name, but
yeah.
And I am getting wrecked by some of the stuff. Even with like basically max skill tree of like, I'm like struggling in some of the fights and stuff like that. And so this is what I get for doing New Game Plus, but like I didn't want to have to like go through and do all the collectibles and stuff like that for the ones that she'd already done. So here we are. And then lastly, and this will jump into our first news topic as well. I have been playing Starfield this past weekend. And so, along with a large number of people on the internet. And so I've been streaming it over on Cameron plus Deanna, and I've put in, I think, 18 hours this weekend. And so, seems like a lot, but I gotta say, getting a code for the premium thing on a long weekend has been pretty fantastic. Like, of all the weekends for this to happen on, I'm pretty happy with this. So, but with that, Starfield has also already been seeing some crazy high numbers, I believe, coming in at about 250,000 players, even though the game doesn't technically release till the 6th. So this is just people with the premium edition that are playing it now. And that's pretty crazy. I also heard, and I don't know how true this was, but I heard that Baldur's Gate's like concurrent player count like dropped leading into Starfield releasing, which is not overly surprising. They're both massive
Yeah.
RPGs.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. And so shout out to Bethesda for the game. Currently, or I say currently, when I checked earlier, it was sitting at an 87 on Metacritic. I'm very curious to where this one is going to land, like long term, in the like consciousness of gamers. Like this, it seems like this, like just based on like the conversations that I've heard, that this could be like very divisive. Of like some people having this as like the best game of the year, other people like kind of just having it as, hey, it's good. I'm really curious to like 2 or 3 years from now, how are we going to look back on Starfield? Is it going to be something like Skyrim or Fallout 3 that are looked back very positively? Or is this going to be kind of like Fallout 4, which is like technically they are conscious wise, it was a good game, but just kind of didn't really permeate to the degree of the other ones. But I don't know.
The things about it that has cracked me up in terms of discourse so far has been certain people getting mad that you can't land on gas giants.
Yes, that's
when like if you take just like 2 seconds to think about it,
right.
You can't even do that in real life. Like, yes, it's a video game that's like all fictional, but like there's a reason they're called gas giants. They're made out of gas. There's nothing to land on.
Yeah, that one was pretty great.
Yeah.
And I think even then it wasn't just like this is a gas giant, it was like Saturn and Jupiter.
Yeah.
And so these are the ones that you should be familiar with. Like this isn't like something that they missed. Because while you are able to travel around, you can go to I think it's called the Sol system is their word for it. So you can come and like visit the planets in our solar system. I have not visited them all yet, but you can do that. And yeah, I think that was really funny. Of just like, yep, this is the thing. And so some spoiler-free thoughts on my end. Again, after like 18 hours, so we're by no means. I would say no means very far in. This is the time that you could beat plenty of other games, but like I feel like I've like scratched the surface on this game. Inventory management, it's as awful as every reviewer has made it out to be. This has got to be one of the worst games when it comes to managing your inventory, especially because so much stuff is so cool. Like, and it just makes it very hard to understand, especially I'm going to say early game in the sense that like I would still say I'm in the early game. Because like I just have a bunch of resources. I don't want to get rid of them, but like I don't know what I need them for. And like I don't know what to do with them. And so like your inventory is very limited as a player. You have an inventory on your ship as well, but you can't always send things from your inventory to the ship. You can give things to your allies to hold, but then if your ally wanders off, or like this is spoiler free, I don't actually know if this happens, but like if a ally was to like leave your party and you can't get to them, you don't know where your stuff went. Like they might be back at their
stuff just left with them.
Yeah, like they might be at their house, they might be somewhere else. Like I've heard stories of people like reviewers that like they're like, I know where this item is, it's with this character, but I don't know where that character is. And I don't know how you did that. But like they like completely lost one of the characters. And so yeah, so it's really miserable. You can do some stuff to like mitigate that. Like there are some items that give you the like increased capacity and stuff like that. But it is pretty miserable. The one saving grace for it is that while you can't fast travel while over encumbered, you actually still move pretty fast compared to like Skyrim, where if you were over encumbered, you were like slogging. This one, you can still move and you can still sprint. It just, your oxygen just gets eaten up very quickly, which is basically your endurance. And so, so there's that. Other stuff. The skill tree, I love it and hate it. I think it is such a cool skill tree, but it feels like there are too many things that are interesting and it's too hard to like spec into them. So my character I'm playing, she's based off of one of my favorite Magic characters whose name is Marchesa, mixed with Han Solo. So I'm trying to do the like swashbuckling smuggler bounty hunter type character. That was my goal. One of the presets is 100% a grandma though. So I am playing this character as a grandma who is just like going around and is like way too old for this, but is like living her best life as she's like traversing the galaxy.
It's delightful.
Yeah. And so it's the like in my head canon, like she's retired and then like she's like, oh well, but I need to do something. And so this is kind of what's led her into this.
This is her retirement plan.
Exactly. And so that's been a lot of fun. And so, but yeah, so like when you pick your character, you pick like their background and you get 3 skills. And the way that the skills work, so say that there's a skill called that I took that's persuasion because that fit my archetype. So to level up persuasion to the next level, I have to win so many persuasion challenges against other characters. But that cost me a skill point to rank that up and to then get better at persuasion. Or I could use that skill point to start a new skill. And then that new skill can be ranked up into its other levels. And so
there's
yeah,
a huge debate as to which way to go.
Exactly. It's like, do you do shallow or do you go deep?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of gotten to the point where I've decided I'm just completely ignoring certain skill trees.
Yeah.
Because I want, at least until I get to where I want to build, till I want to be, because I want to start building outposts and spaceships. So that's kind of where I'm focusing right now. And I have my pistols. That's my only weapon skill right now. We're doing good. You can still use other weapons, but it's so hard to allocate skill points to picking up like a rifle proficiency or something like that. Because yeah, it's again, I both love it and hate it. It feels both extremely wide open, but also extremely restricting at the same time. What else? Shipbuilding seems super cool from the little bit that I've messed with it. It's very complex. There's a lot going on. And it's not always super clear because there's not a lot of menuing or not a lot of like tutorialization. There's a lot of menuing. But there's stuff that's like, hey, here's these 2 different pieces. One of them you can hook stuff like hook your cargo holds onto. The other one you can't. Why can't you hook it onto the other one? Because they said so. Like, it's like super unclear. I had to like go and Google why, like what was going on. But it's really cool. It's very like freeing in the sense of like, if you have an idea, you can design a ship to look like that. Locksteady sent me one where someone had built the Serenity from Firefly.
That's great.
And then eventually I want to build the Millennium Falcon just to like fit with my character.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's like so much cool stuff there. What else? There's lots of fast traveling, lots of menus, lots of load screens. I will say that as a negative. I like the gunplay. It's not like necessarily anything to write home about, but like the guns are interesting and diverse. And so like it feels a lot closer to like a first person shooter than Fallout did. Um, and so, so far the story is good. Um, Again, not necessarily anything that like I'm in love with, but like I'm enjoying it from like a world building perspective. There's a handful of side quests that are like very obvious references to things. Of like, there's a thing that's definitely not Batman. I've heard that there's a Wally quest. So that's really cool.
That's delightful.
Yeah,
I loved Wally.
yeah, so lots of fun references, and yeah, it's such a huge game that I feel like people will be like discovering stuff for a long time. When it comes to what are the actual like, what are all the references, what are all the nods, like that kind of thing. Um, but yeah, and so that is my spoiler-free thoughts. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I don't think so. Nothing else comes to mind. I've only had like one major glitch, and it was kind of my fault. I initiated a conversation while waiting for someone to show up. Then the other person showed up, and then it kicked off both conversations going in parallel.
Oh no.
So that happened. But other than that, there haven't really been any major bugs, which is pretty nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. Listeners, if you're playing Starfield, let's chat about it over in the Discord in the comment section if you're watching on YouTube. What kind of character are you playing? What are you looking forward to? Stuff like that. In some other video game news, this weekend was PAX West. And while I'm sure there's a whole lot of other news coming out of it, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is that it was announced there at a panel that we are going to be getting a PC port of Final Fantasy 16 as well as 2 paid DLC expansions.
Nice.
I still need to finish Final Fantasy 16. My goal had been to beat it this weekend, and Starfield happened. So, the time that I would have spent playing that was spent playing Starfield. But I'm really excited. I never got into the DLC for Final Fantasy 15 as much as I had wanted to. One of the major criticisms of that game is it felt like there were very obvious holes in the story where they were going to plug in DLC. And sure enough, that's exactly what they did.
Shocker.
Yeah, it was stuff of like, this character left the party for a little bit to go take care of something. What could they be taking care of? And then, like, sure enough, that was the DLC for that character. And it was just like, okay. From what I've played, having not beat it, but I think I'm about 90% of the way through. This game doesn't seem that way. Like, there hasn't been anything that I was like, oh, clearly this is just here so that they can do DLC. So I'm very interested to what that's going to be, where it's going to plug in. And I'll say, especially with the Final Fantasy 16's gameplay being much more like tied to Clive. Well, I say that. Final Fantasy 15, you play as Noctis the whole time until the DLC, and then you start playing as other people. So I don't know. But I'm excited to see what they're going to do. I'm hoping that they're able to actually stick with their vision. Because if I remember correctly, the final DLC for Final Fantasy 15 didn't happen, and that was the one about the villain.
Ooh.
And that was like, who is like one of my favorite villains in video games. And so, I think that one didn't happen. I'll Google it and we can talk about it in post show. But, how's Final Fantasy going for you? Have you played any lately?
No. It's a lot of fun. The trouble that I run into with it is my ADD because the cutscenes are so long that I
Mm-hmm.
just end up sitting there bored because I just want to go fight things.
Yeah.
But there's so much time, like, people talking, which is fun and great when I want something more chill. But then half the time I'm like, I just want to go fight things. And then I get bored and stop playing after like 45 minutes because I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting there watching. So I haven't made it very far recently um, because of that. It's like, yeah, but I will finish it eventually, is
Mm-hmm.
one of those things. But it won't be anytime super soon because most of the time when I sit down at my little gaming center there to play something, I just want to hack and smash away at things. So,
Yeah. Oh,
like I
and
said
to
earlier, I'm trying to finish Assassin's Creed.
yeah,
So,
you're in the middle of a lot of very big games, and
yeah, I'm
that's
in the
the
middle of a lot of big things. So, I'm trying to finish all of the big things.
um, and oh yeah, so I do call out episode Arden for Final Fantasy 15 did come out. Um, it was the final one. It was intended to be part of a further set of DLC that never happened. The other parts never happened. So, um, but yeah, I hope that you get into Final Fantasy 16. And I hope that you love it. Like it's been exactly what I wanted from it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of in that camp for me of games that like I'm sad to play because that means it'll be over.
Yeah.
Um, and like while I don't necessarily think it's going to impact me in like the same way as The Last of Us, like that's how I felt about that game. And
Yeah.
it was like I know I'm close to the end and I kind of don't want to finish it because that means like it will be over. Um, and but yeah, I feel like I'm kind of target audience for a lot of Final Fantasy 16 of like so much of the hype around it of like what's going on in the game and stuff like that is right up my alley.
Yeah.
And as someone who is definitely more used to longer cutscenes in games and also, gets distracted, the joy for me is like since I'm streaming it, I can just talk with chat during cutscenes and kind of just like read the subtitles. And so that definitely helps. So, but that is all that I have for or for my topics this week. Emma, what do you have for us?
Got a couple of things. Um, First off, if you did not hear it elsewhere, we lost several people to death, which is unfortunate. Notably, Jimmy Buffett and Steve Harwell of Smash Mouth fame, if you will, um, which I mention primarily because whenever I think of Smash Mouth, I think of Shrek,
Mm-hmm.
which means I think of my childhood,
Yep.
um, because of several of their songs making appearances um, in those movies, and basically redefining all of that. So it's very unfortunate. Steve Harwell was like 56,
Yeah.
so he was pretty young, all things considered. Um, and it's unfortunate to have lost someone that sort of at that point in their life. Um, so those are, if you haven't heard of that, it's very sad. And now you have. Sending all of the love to both their
Mm-hmm.
families and friends. In other news, Wheel of Time season 2 is out now. Very exciting for someone like me who has been trudging through the books for years and years and years at this point. Um, and I haven't started it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And then
Sorry.
my
On
big
Wheel of Time,
yes,
how has the reception for season 2 been? Because like I feel like
I have
season
not
1
seen.
was kind of polarized.
Yeah, I have not seen anything yet. It just came out like maybe 2 days ago.
Okay.
Um, I also have not been on Twitter much recently, which is where I would see all of that stuff. Um, Season 1, yeah, the polarizing, a lot of it happened in regards to the actual writing and like telling of the story, um, which is totally valid and fair. Um, but at the same time, I don't. I personally feel like they haven't pulled an Aragon with this series, and totally butchered it. So like I'm pretty much in the neutral camp in regards to the series. Granted, I also have not finished the books, so I don't know where the end, like where I don't know the entire arc for the characters or anything yet. Um, but I don't love some of the choices they've made, but I also don't hate others. So it's kind of, again, I haven't heard anything in regards to season 2 yet, um, because it just came out recently. But it's very exciting. I think it's, in terms of visuals and costuming and stuff, they're doing a great job. Um, so yeah. And then the last thing I have that I'm pretty excited to talk about is with the pickets and strikes that have been happening in regards to the actors and writers here in LA. Last week, I believe it was, one of the days at the Universal picket line was D&D themed day, because some of the strike sites have themed days, and so this was, I think it was Wednesday. They had a D&D day, and a couple of well-known people from the world of D&D showed up, like Brennan Lee Mulligan and Sam Riegel and a few others. And um, Brennan ran a an encounter for everyone who was there, and they were fighting a quote unquote fictional evil CEO that they had to
Purely hypothetically.
hypothetical evil
Yeah.
CEO that they had to defeat so they could take back their money that was stolen from them, in the midst of this strike. And I just think it's so delightful that all of these people who are a part of these unions are showing up and using their, like, what their jobs, skills, and talents are to like stand in opposition, um, of what is unfair deals. And yeah, okay, so it was a broad encounter I'm seeing in this. Um, so yeah.
I love that.
Um,
I'm happy to see people. I mean, a lot of people in those things are probably part of SAG or part
yeah,
of WGA, but like those things,
yeah,
the like actual plays are typically not covered as part of that,
yeah,
just because it's a different like thing for like
yeah.
internet shows, right? You would definitely know better than me,
Yes.
but
But
it's
a lot of the
great.
people involved still are still part of those unions because they do stuff in
Yeah,
other realms as well.
yeah, and I think that it's great to see them as people whose livelihoods may not be affected to the same degree as others, since they still have some work that they're able to do without being on like fully on strike. Uh, and yeah, I'm definitely happy to see them standing with standing with the protesters. Um, Kind of adding to that, you can again probably explain this a little bit better in terms of how
Yes.
things may work. But I posted this in the Discord. We also found out that SAG-AFTRA's national board has voted unanimously to send a strike authorization vote to members in advance of bargaining dates with signatory video game companies. So my understanding, then correct me if I'm wrong, is this is them saying, hey, we are ready to go on strike if these bargains don't get resolved quickly, right? That's kind of what it's saying.
Yes.
Okay. Because we kind of saw the same
Um,
thing with UPS, right? It's like they never went on strike, but they basically said, hey, we're willing and we have agreed that we can go
Yeah.
on strike.
So that's basically saying that the board for that branch of SEG has unanimously voted to go on strike and that they will go on strike, but they have not yet because they're in talks to update contracts. But if the video game studios have not or will not meet their demands, then the video game branch of SEG will then go on strike.
Okay. And what's up, Gaming Embers, coming in with a rating party of 10. Happy to have y'all come and join us. We are
Hello.
First Geek 411. My name is Cameron. This is Emma. Happy to have y'all. We are chatting about the ongoing strikes. Earlier today, we're talking Starfield and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. We are going through the show, kind of recapping some news, and then we're going to do like a post-show chat. So if y'all have any questions about Starfield or anything like that, feel free to drop in the chat. We'll circle back to them. And then if you also want to chat in, first off, Gaming Embers, what were you streaming? And then anybody else, what have you been playing, watching, listening to? Let us know, and we'll have some nice chats about that once we finish our news discussions.
It's all very exciting. We're I'm hoping specifically that things start going in an upward trend, because I am graduating in December and I would like to have a job and have fair deals. But if things don't look that way by that point, I get it. We all want fair deals.
Speaking of fair deals, sorry, there we go. I just had like a bit of brain fart. I know this is not your realm, but we also got information about Taylor Swift's releasing her Eras Tour movie, and apparently is part of the group that got permission from SAG to do the filming, do all of that. And from what I've read, it like she got permission like under like a fake name or under like a code name so that people wouldn't recognize that it was her.
Interesting.
To go and do this. I don't know what that's going to mean for what it is, because there's not exactly like writing as part of that. So I don't know if that's like if her and or background people count as like actors in like the traditional sense, because this is going to be released as a movie, but good for her.
She probably is a SAG member because she's made a couple of acting appearances and stuff in the past. So, but I don't know about any of her backup dancers. But if I had to hazard a guess, I would say with like 60% confidence that she's a SAG union member.
According to Screen Rant, yes, she is. She is a member of SAG-AFTRA. Yep. But yeah, that the tour thing has also apparently already broken a whole bunch of records, including in-game for pre-sales, and will kind of unsurprisingly most likely be the best October movie ever. And so she can't be stopped. But yeah, props to her for going.
Neutral opinion about Taylor Swift. By neutral, I mean I don't understand what all the hype is, but you do you.
Yeah. Shanine and I are just constantly sending videos back and forth on Instagram. So we're just living our best lives. And so shout out to see if I'm doing my hands so that I can find this later. Shout out to our ranking every Taylor Swift album.
Yep.
And so, and we already have some plans to return to that for 1989 Taylor's version. But But yeah, kind of as we continue this um, ongoing strike, props to her for like going about it seemingly the right way and making sure that her people will be taken care of. Uh, and yeah, yet another thing, kind of bucking the trend of like all of the um, higher ups and doing all of that stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then, yeah, hopefully, I mean, I think we just passed day 50 of the SAG strike. I think I saw some people posting about that. And so hopefully, we're getting closer and closer to a resolution here. I know there were some quotes from like CEOs being like, we're trying to starve them out and all of that kind of stuff. But like, hopefully we are close to getting a resolution so that writers and actors can get back to doing the job that they love and they can get paid a living wage for it. So
what we all want.
Mm-hmm. This does feel like, again, whenever this gets resolved, this does feel like about 2 years after that is probably going to be one of the best years for film and television announcements. Like, we might not have projects coming out like say this ends by end of this year. Like 2026, 2027 is going to be a bananas year as like all of these projects get kicked into high gear. And yeah, very excited for what that could be. Of course, also ideally with Emma in some of the credits for those things.
Yeah, we hope.
That's the dream.
It is the dream. Dream big.
Yeah. But that is going to bring us through our discussion topics for this week as we head into post-show chat. Some quick announcements. End of the month, we will have our next book club. We have still not picked a book. We're targeting September 28th for that date. We'll have an announcement out for that as soon as we can. Our most recent book club on Heir to the Empire should be up this week. I haven't had time to trim it because I've been too busy playing Starfield. And so, meaning I've had plenty of time. I have just not been doing it. And so I'll try to do that as I trim this episode and try to get that up. So it'll probably go up Thursday in that case. This will go up on Wednesday and we'll have that go up on Thursday. But then that's where we're going to end the show for this week. Hope everybody has a great one. We'll go into post-show chat. But as always, you can find us on our social media as OneGeek411. You can join our Discord server if you want to chat between shows. Shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com and check out our Redbubble store. Watch live on Twitch, 6:45 Mountain Time, and find the videos over on YouTube where you can like, comment, and subscribe. And then you can also find us on our personal social media. I am Humar Whittle on Threads, Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of stuff.
All of it.
Yeah.
And I am not prepared with an I in the prepared on pretty much all platforms, as far as I'm aware. Yeah.
And it's been a great week.
Have some fun.